Hey, and today Naomi and I are back today with our challenge, which is our 12 key messages for the holiday period that we've been set as our task this year. Um, Nams, I'm going to throw to you. What do you think, if you think back of all the work we've done over the last 30 years and the feedback we're getting from families and schools, what do you think we should use this one for?
I think that a really poignant one this time of year is the parenting through parties, because this time of year there's a lot of those sorts of functions, and it's a really dear to my heart, that particular topic, because I know how hard it can be.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's a really tough one too. I'm noticing with my parenting across communities is a real challenge for families that whether it's on technology or parties, things like that. Parents wanting to know that everyone in their community or in their friendship groups on the same page. And I think that's something we had the privilege of when our kids were younger, that we were pretty tight as a friendship group, so we could do that, but it wasn't like that for all of our kids. Um, One of I'm reflecting on some of the work I did through Party Safe, and obviously you did some great work with the cats around this, is harm minimization is really interesting, but the most important thing we can do is set boundaries early with our families.
Absolutely. And I know there were times where people would often contact me and say, "Are you letting your child go to that particular party?" Because they knew what work I'd done in my professional life. They would try and get a measure of whether they felt that place was going to be a safe party, and it's a lot of pressure on one person, but it was an interesting conversation with those parents.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if I think back of the key points, and really respecting the fact that everybody's family values are different on this. Some parents choose to let their kids drink early. Some parents want to really stick to that 18 mark. Evidence tells us, but evidence is different to family structure. So
Yeah,
evidence tells us the later we can leave alcohol and allow brains to develop, the better opportunities our children have. One thing that's really interesting around alcohol use and gambling use is parental attitudes matter. Yes, they might push back against boundaries. Yes, they might make mistakes in that space, but our attitudes are absolutely critical to what happens in that space. And I think if we think about harm minimization, being that parent who rings the party to see that there's somebody supervising if our children are under 18, finding out where our children will be getting ready for the party, where they will be going to, where after the party, and that will there be a parent of that space too. And I think that's really important.
absolutely. And we've talked about what's your plan, and this is a perfect time to bring what's your plan into, to make sure that the kids have got a well-charged phone and all those things that they can help them make good decisions. But it is tricky when you've got New Year's Eve, where there's this expectation that you can stay up really late and do whatever you like because it's New Year's Eve. So the parents have to weigh up what sort of boundaries they want to put around that night.
Yeah, and the tough thing with boundaries is when we collapse them for the odd event here and there, we've just got to have a preparedness that, that door then is open. And I'm not saying, parents know their children, parents and carers know their children better than anyone else. This is not about us making those choices for them, but just consider that if it's okay this one night of the year to let the boundaries rip and have a fun night, but then next time they ask you, say no, that's when conflict can come in. So letting our kids know they're safe. I think one of the really important things, that I like to try and get across is let your parents be the reason you're not allowed to do something. If somebody's asked to do something, just say, please, it's my fault, I'm not allowed to do it. Say mum says no, dad says no, auntie says no. That becomes really important, that kids have got to get out of jail free card when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And often kids actually want you to say no because they're actually not sure they want to go those extra boundaries. So sometimes having you as the excuse is fantastic.
Yeah, look, it is a tough couple of years because you might want to sit back and have a relax yourself, and and we know in some regions getting public transport back, but being that parent who rings the party, it's okay to do that. Holding those boundaries where possible. If you're saying to a child you can have a couple of drinks, you're giving them a license to drink. And
Yeah.
that the evidence tells us that. So that's something that if you choose to do as a family, you've got to be okay with that. But the evidence is telling us that brain development's really critical if we can really try and hold those boundaries. And when our kids make mistakes, it's an opportunity to revisit that. But making sure we know where they are, who they're with before and after the party. You picked up the phone thing before, making sure they got the phone number somewhere else on themselves, not just in their phone.
Yeah.
Definitely see adolescence is out of credit, out of charge.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at what we can do and getting that what's your plan in really early and keeping our kids safe.
And I know those critical years, and you'll be the same, where we didn't get to have big parties because we were the ones on alert to be able to pick those kids up from wherever they were. So you just you have to put those things aside for a little while sometimes.
And it is an investment for future, because then when our kids turn 18, 19 and 20, occasionally they could pick us up from parties. And what I used to love actually was the what's your plan I used to cop on the way out the door from the
Exactly.
So what we say matters. So hey, enjoy your summer break, and there's plenty of information on our support boards if you want more information on Party Safe and other topics. But yeah, I think we're done.
Terrific. We'll see you
All
later.
right. See ya.